easier. One thing that makes life easier is, when gas prices are moving in the correct direction. And here to talk to us about that, our old buddy, spokesman for AAA Mississippi, Don Redman, joins us. Don, how you doing this morning?
I'm well, thank you. Good morning.
Looking a little better at the pump right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a little jump up in prices just a week ago as concerns grew between Israel and Lebanon, but the prices have settled back down largely because crude has come back down. You saw crude, which is selling about $70 a barrel right now, had jumped up to almost $78 a barrel just out of concerns of what was going to happen in the Middle East. But, when we look at where we were this time last year, it was over $3 a gallon. So we're definitely in a better place.
Well, and that leads to more people on the road, obviously, which is a good thing because when people are out and about, that's a driver of economic activity.
Yeah, it is. But this is the time of year where we do see travel start slowing down. I think people are waiting for the Thanksgiving holiday and then the Christmas, New Year's holidays as well. But that's one of the drivers that keeping the price down right now is the fact that demand is slowing down. And that's very typical for this time of year.
And, of course, the other factor which can't be ignored this year is everyone seems to be holding their breath waiting for November 5th at this point because nobody knows what's going to happen, where we're going to be in a month. There's so much uncertainty right now, so I think everyone is probably being a little more cautious than usual. Would you think that's the case when it comes to car travel?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And, we're still seeing from our travel side, people are making big plans for trips for Christmas and looking into the spring already. And for example, people are already making their plans to travel to Alaska next summer. They're making those plans right now because it books up really quick. So when we look at those travel trends or projections of what they are planning to do in the future, it still looks pretty healthy. But there's no denying that there's a lot of apprehension going on over this election and which direction the country would go.
And ironically enough, the more apprehension there is, the less demand there is, which means lower prices at the pump, as you were saying just a moment ago. What do you think is going to be the effect on those prices at the pump from the election? Now, I'm not even talking about next year, January 20th, when the next president is sworn in. I'm talking about by the end of November, by Thanksgiving holiday. Is the election and its results, do you think that's going to have an effect on things?
Largely no. And the reason I say that is a lot of these, gasoline like gold and oil are sold in a futures market. And so there's already some of the price we're seeing are for deliveries 6 weeks from now. And so some of these prices are going to be baked in over the next few weeks that, barring, of course, any major news event, will shape those prices more so than the news of the election. Though, I will add that energy prices are driven by the news of the day, and the election could influence it, but I don't think it's going to be any wild swing one way or the other following that election.
Well, and in a way, that's good news because I think we're having enough wild swings in general right now. So, let's take at least one factor off the table for at least a moment. With everything uncertain and with the economy having been the way it was, we saw a definite reduction in spending and in travel. As inflation has started to come back down, have we seen an uptick as a result of that?
Well, I guess inflation depends on where you're going and what on the actual item that you're purchasing. But despite the inflationary demands on travel, we had a very robust travel season this summer, setting some records of people traveling. I think, again, it's some of the pent-up demand. People said, I'm getting out to travel this time. I know what it was like in 2020 not to go anywhere, and I've got a bucket list, and I'm going to start making my plans now because I don't know how things are going to change. And so we've really seen a very robust travel season despite some of the doom and gloom coming on the economic picture. However, we do notice that there are some changes. For example, people may not be traveling as far or staying as long, and our state parks are getting a heck of a workout because people are trying to budget their monies to stay at more affordable locations.
You know, you talk about the pandemic in 2020, and at the time I was driving back and forth to Jackson every day, and I feel like I got to know the other three people that were out driving because that was it. That's all I saw. It was just the four of us out going around. How long do you think that effect will last? Because that was a definite effect, especially when we came out of that and everybody started getting out and circulating again. And I think you're right. It continues to a certain extent. But how long does that effect last? Or is this a semi-permanent shift because everyone kind of learned a lesson during the pandemic?
I think people learned a lesson. And I think this is, I wouldn't say it's the new normal because we're looking at numbers of returning back to where we were in 2019. So it's a good sign that we've climbed out of it. We may be in areas that we were before the pandemic. So I think this is the new normal. People are getting back to normal, and we're starting to see a return to those typical travel trends that for a couple of years are really doomy and gloomy, especially if you're in a travel industry. The hotels, all those type of areas are really taking a beating.
And they have for several years now, and it's good to see that rebounding to some extent. But amazingly enough, the travel also impacts employment because as business picks back up at all of these places, they need more people to help folks when they come in. So that's a good thing. That's a good aspect of this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you off the cuff what the percentage of the travel industry accounts for the Mississippi budget, but I mean, certainly we all know the Gulf Coast is big on that, and other parts of the state they rely heavily on tourism, and so it's good to see people traveling back. And I was at the Gulf Coast on the cruise in the coast, and good grief, that was phenomenal number of people, incredible.
From all over the country and other
All
countries as
over.
well. They had their first person ever that they're aware of from New Zealand, I believe it was, that came over with a vehicle, no less.
That's crazy.
I
Had to
know.
cost some money. Good
It
grief.
had to, you would think. But yes, and back at the beginning of the month, Governor Reeves had a tourism summit he held, and it was revealed that tourism has a $17.5 billion impact on the economy in Mississippi. It's enormous what tourism
Yeah.
does for us, and I think sometimes we don't realize that, which is why the governor, held that meeting, held that symposium. On a personal note, just very quickly here before we run out of time, on a personal note, Don, you've got 2 weeks and an unlimited budget. What's your dream trip? Where do you want to go?
Boy, I would like to go to my maternal grandparents are from Sweden, so I really would like to visit Sweden. I've had friends who've gone to Ireland a lot. That's a big destination for a lot of AAA members in Mississippi is Ireland and Alaska. I think those are some of my ideal places I'd like to go: Sweden, Ireland, and Alaska, and see what I can explore there.
Yeah, very good. Good stuff. And I have some Irish heritage. I am the least Irish-looking human being to ever walk the face of planet Earth, but I do have some Irish heritage. So I know a lot of people that have connections there. So that kind of makes sense to me in a way, that stat that you just gave me. I didn't know that, but that makes sense. So, yeah, look, travel is one of the best things anyone can do in my book because it
And
broadens
you have
your
to make it a habit.
horizons. Yes, exactly. Now, it shouldn't be a special once-in-a-lifetime occasion. You should travel
Right.
because you get a little time and it's time to go someplace.
That's right.
It's
Exactly.
an enriching learning experience, I think, and it makes your life better if you get out and travel. So get out and do it. Don Redman said so. I'm putting this all on you, Don. This
And
seems
Don,
fair.
and Don Redman also said, don't forget AAA has travel counselors can help you plan your trip, especially abroad.
There you go. That was perfect. I didn't even know I was segueing for you, Don. Don Redman was AAA Mississippi. Every so often, we have a happy accident here. I enjoy talking to you. Always do, Don. Keep up the good work and safe, happy travels, my friend.
Thank you.
We will continue here on the Gallo Show on a Friday morning right after this. Keep it here.